Good evening. This is the Red Hook Town Board meeting of October 18th, 2016. Would you be kind enough to rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we begin tonight's meeting as we do all first meetings of the month with the supervisor's report. You have that in your packet. And hopefully I have it in my packet. I'm going to borrow yours, Bill. Wasn't in mine. We begin the month, this is for the month September 30th, 2016. We begin with an opening balance in the master accounts, grand totals of $4,492,365.49, receipts of $870,648.86, disbursements of $1,168,689.25. That leaves a remaining balance of $4,189,325.10. And Conway, our bookkeeper, has prepared also copies of the bank statements for your perusal. And you can see the various opening and closing balances for each fund. Are there any questions, Bill, I should share with you? Or
No, I've got it.
You've got another one, okay.
No, I have none.
Okay, hearing no questions, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ann has also prepared for us some budget adjustments. And you have those in your packets. Some of our revenues are coming in higher than expected. Bless you.
Those T-ball fees are keeping us afloat.
The T-ball fees, yeah. Well, in fact, we're seeing more fees, permit fees. There's more activity in building, certainly in renovating. And we're seeing actually a significant jump in fees related to solar installations. So even though it's a minor fee, our promotion of the solarized Northern Duchess has led to an increase in that department revenue. She has also made adjustments to allocate the TAP existing project into capital accounts, so that no longer shows up in the various funds, but in a dedicated account, so we can track that without it altering those fund balances. So are there any questions about the budget adjustments? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay. We have a very small public this evening. Oh, we have clerk's report. I'm so sorry. Sue McCann.
September 1st through September 30th, 2016, total local shares as revenue remitted to supervisor $1,729.42. Amount remitted to New York Ag and Markets for the Spade and Neuter program, $77. Amount remitted to New York Department for Health for Marriage Licenses, $135, and amount remitted to New York Environmental Conservation, $6,839.58, for a total state, county, and local revenue of $8,781. Pursuant to Section 27, Sub 1 of the Town Law, I hereby certify that the foregoing is a full and true statement of all fees and monies received by me Sue McCann, Town Clerk, Town of Red Hook, during the period stated above in connection with my office. And that's it.
Very good. Thank you, Sue. Is there a motion to approve the clerk's report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, so one more time, let's try public comments, and then we'll have a couple of announcements. Any public comments tonight? No? Okay, seeing none, we have a few announcements. We'd like to remind folks that the upcoming Chocolate Festival is the weekend of November 5th here in town, mostly in the village. Lots of stores and vendors will have various chocolate activities. We recommend that you go to the Chamber's website, and they'll have detailed information about specific activities during the course of the weekend. Other announcements, I would like to let you know on a good note that I received just a little while ago a word from the Hudson Valley Greenway. As you know, that we applied for a couple of grants. We had a grant for updating our road standards to include complete streets, and they notified us that we were successful for the full $10,000 amount for that grant. And in addition to that, we applied for the Hudson Valley Greenway Trails program, and we're to receive $20,000 towards that effort as well. So great work, volunteers. I know Brenda and Sarah and many others were involved in the Trails grant, and we couldn't have done it without you, and certainly our consultant who helped me with the Greenway Complete Streets grant. We thank everyone involved, especially the Greenway, for having confidence in us to execute many of the initiatives that they help us to fund. So good news there. We had a very successful Tivoli street painting, right, Harry, after several cancellations?
It was a super day.
Yeah.
And Robert got black paint and white paint all over him, so.
My accuracy in painting. Do we have more announcements? Anything else, Sarah? Do you have something you'd like to add?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. There are lots of workshops. If we have anything we think that you would like to know back at home, we'll put it on the town website. Harry, anything else from today?
No.
Okay. If not, why don't we dive right on into our agenda. The first item is the CDBG 2017 application update. As you know, we passed a resolution to apply for up to $200,000 for our Challenger Field project. In order to have an application of that magnitude, we need to have a partner, and both villages were considering their own applications. At the last minute, the village of Red Hook decided to join our application, and at their meeting last night, they passed a couple of resolutions to that effect. In addition, my backup plan was to ask the town of Milan to join in the application, and in fact they did take action last night to have a supporting resolution and to set a public hearing, of which we won't need that at this point because we do have a partner in the village. So I wanted to keep you up to speed with that, and with that in mind, we have a revised resolution. Is that correct, Chris?
We do. We have a resolution for consideration tonight, which references the Village of Red Hook's participation in the application, with the town as lead applicant responsible for all project obligations. In other words, for the match.
Right, so this just really revises a resolution we already passed, but documents that the village is going to be our co-applicant. Again, as a reminder, it's $100,000 per applicant, and because we are two, we get to apply for $200,000. We did hear word back from the county on shared services. We were not successful with that application. I'm hoping that we will have better success here. It's certainly an appropriate application for CDBG. So I don't know that we necessarily need to read the whole resolution, but it's a resolution number 91, authorizing submission of an application for the fiscal year 2017 Dutchess County Community Development Block Grant. And it essentially says that we will be applying with the Village of Red Hook for $200,000 towards the total project cost of $529,000 for the infrastructure and the Challenger Field. And that's on the lands across from our existing recreational facility on the west side of Linden Avenue. So, I so move. Is there
Second.
a second? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much. Okay, so I think it was a couple meetings ago perhaps, we discussed having a resolution to go to the Coast Guard. You know, they've been asked by maritime organizations to create 10 new docking locations, 43 barges on the Hudson River, occupying over 2,500 acres, including a few hundred acres near to the town of Red Hook, with crude Bakken oil transported and docked long-term. So we had significant discussion about it. You had asked me to draft, since I was drafting for the Dutchess County Supervisors and Mayors Association. I was working with the town of Rhinebeck supervisor. We came up with something that looks like what's in your folder, with a couple of typos to be corrected. And I'm wondering, I sent this around to you, I think, a week and a half ago or so, and whether or not you had some comments on it, if it was something you were comfortable with.
Fine with me.
Did you already note the typos that we sent comments on?
I have them here.
Marked here, okay.
Handwritten that I'll give to Sue McCann.
Okay, great.
Yes, birthing with a E, not an I. I
It's
noticed
pretty
in
different.
one location. Sarah, could I task you with reading this?
Sure, should I read the whole thing?
Whatever you feel comfortable with.
Guess I'll do it. Okay, Town of Red Hook Resolution number 92. Dated October 18th, authorizing the Town of Red Hook to offer Coast Guard comments regarding proposed Hudson River anchorages. Whereas the Hudson River Valley from New York City to Albany, including Dutchess County, is a national heritage area of extraordinary natural beauty and major historic, cultural, and economic importance. And whereas the U.S. Coast Guard is soliciting comments and concerns from the public on a proposal to establish over 40 commercial tanker berths at 10 sites on the Hudson from Yonkers to Kingston, and whereas 7 of the 10 proposed sites are near or adjacent to the town of Red Hook, Kingston Flats, Port Ewan, Big Rock Point, Milton, Newburgh, Tompkins Point, and Montrose Point, and whereas the berthing of large oil tankers threatens our drinking water with pollution from oil leaks, creates river bottom scarring by anchors and anchor chains, endangers the habitats of wildlife, creates noise and nighttime pollution disturbing the peace and tranquility of the residents, and destroys the natural scenic beauty of the river and its viewshed. And whereas history has shown, as in the case of the spill in the Mississippi River in 2014, that cleanup efforts are relatively futile, with 2% or less reclamation, and whereas decades of industrial pollution and abuse has turned our river, this national heritage area, into one of America's largest EPA Superfund sites, stretching from Hudson Falls all the way to New York City, and whereas our local governments have spent years fighting to recover, protect, and preserve our vital Hudson River environment through initiatives including the New York State LWRP, LWRA, the Greenway Compact, comprehensive plans, and land use and zoning law, And whereas this proposal risks undoing our efforts and reindustrializing the Hudson River, now therefore be it resolved that the town of Red Hook urges the U.S. Coast Guard to conduct public meetings in the very communities affected by the concerns stated above and to present this document as a statement of our position. And be it further resolved that the town of Red Hook does not believe that sufficient need exists now or ever to subject our communities to the impacts and risks enumerated above. And be it further resolved that the town of Red Hook strongly recommends that the expansion request be denied in order to protect and preserve this fragile, vital, and historic Hudson River for the benefit of our communities and for the public to whom it belongs. And I so move.
Thank you, Sarah. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Harry. I will just add that the wording in this resolution is identical to the resolution that the Rhinebeck supervisor and I crafted and was passed unanimously by the Dutchess County Supervisors and Mayors Association at their last meeting. So we have full support, and I think we've heard from municipalities up and down both sides of the river, and certainly from our state officials and congressional representatives on this topic. Comments are open until December 6th. If you are at home, you want to Google Hudson River anchorages, and you'll probably see where you can direct your comments to. So any other discussion on this resolution? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much.
Good job.
Thank you all. So we have item number 3 is a resolution setting the date for a public hearing for the 2017 preliminary budget. We have a tentative budget that we've worked on in a couple of budget meetings that we feel is ready for public input because of many reasons, not the least of which the hard work of our employees and our volunteers, also an improving economy and some higher revenues. We do have a preliminary budget that does not include a tax increase this year, something we shouldn't necessarily get used to because when we need to raise taxes, we will have to. But, you know, for this year, it's a possibility. So we have talked about some dates, possible dates to have our public hearing for the 2017 preliminary budget. And I know we have a couple things still to work on. And looking at the town's calendar, I have put out there for your consideration November 2nd to see if that might work. Town Hall is available that night. And that might give you enough time, Bill and Jim.
It's good.
I'll be out of town on the 2nd.
You will be on the 2nd. Is there another opportunity? I know we sort of bump up a lot of conflicts that week. We've got election coming up and so on and so forth. What do you do you have a suggestion, Jim, or are you comfortable having the public hearing at least?
We have to have it by November 10th, right? The Thursday after Election Day?
Right. The deadline is Thursday after the election, and then the budget itself must be passed by the 20th.
Is it too early to have it at our next meeting? I guess that's not enough time to notice it, right?
Jim won't be here for our next meeting either,
Okay.
so that wouldn't solve that particular issue.
Okay.
Otherwise, then, just about any other night except those, Robert.
Those, okay.
I mean, I'm very comfortable with the budget we
Okay.
have if you want to move forward with the public
Okay.
hearing, but I'm not here. But
Okay.
after our last meeting, I was comfortable with where we were
Okay.
at.
Okay. Well, I know we have conflicts with using town hall. That's part of the challenges with sharing town hall with so many committees and boards is that we don't have November 1st open, I believe, right, Sue? if I remember
That's the
correctly?
Sauk Hill.
Sauk Hill Watershed is here, I don't know what size group that is. That's
They're a
big
large group, yeah. Mhm.
I have this
So
wrong.
then we have Thursday the 3rd. What do we have there?
That's court.
Oh, okay,
Starting
that's
at
not gonna
6.
work, yeah. See,
trails and
it
stuff
was
like
bad.
that.
Well,
I
if we can do it on the 2nd and You have people, report to Jim as far as what, if
Okay.
anything, is highlighted,
Okay.
the input by the public. Would that be okay?
That'd be okay with you, Jim?
Yeah, that'd be fine with me,
Okay.
yeah.
If everybody
I
else
mean,
can make it?
Okay.
It's not gonna change from now to
Let's do it on
to then, and I was
November 2nd.
very happy with it at
Okay.
the meeting last week, so.
November
thank you.
2nd, at what time?
November 2nd? Well, I think, would you all like to do it at 7 o'clock? Would that work
7
for you?
o'clock?
Why are we gonna do it at 7? The public isn't used to.
You want to do it
Early.
at 7:30, Harry? That's fine too.
It's just that it,
The normal course of time.
Yeah.
Okay. 7:30, does that work?
When's our next town board meeting next week?
Our
The
next
26th.
The 26th. We have a resolution, number 93. Jim, would you like to read the resolution?
here,
Certainly.
you know, that-
Oh, God, it was in my mailbox.
oh, was, no, okay.
Resolution number 93 dated October 18th, 2016. Resolution setting the date for a public hearing for the 2017 preliminary budget. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Red Hook does hereby set the second day, correct,
Mm-hmm.
of November. Did you agree on 7:30 or 7 PM?
7:30?
At 7:30 PM at the Town Hall of the Town of Red Hook, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, 12571. As and for the date, time, and place of the public hearing to be held at said Town Hall of Town of Red Hook, all interested parties with regard to the preliminary budget for the Town of Red Hook for the year 2017. And be it further resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook, County of Dutchess, State of New York, as follows. The compensation to be paid to the following officers is as follows. Supervisor, $29,504. Town board member, each, $8,283. Town clerk, $53,255. Town justices, each, $17,033. Town highway superintendent, $62,545. Be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish notice of said public hearing in the Poughkeepsie Journal and the Kingston Freeman, the official newspapers of the town, on or before, which day?
It's 5 days is the requirement, so.
Maybe the 27th?
Is that 5 working days or just 5 days?
5 days, but publish it by the 26th.
26th.
By the- So it will be published in the official newspapers of the town of Red Hook on or before the 26th day of October 2016, which is not less than 5 days prior to the date of said public hearing. So moved.
Second.
Well, it was a close call there for a second, okay. And for the public's information.
But I was first, right? Was I first?
Were you first?
Harry was first.
Harry was
I heard
first.
Harry
Yeah.
first.
Just because he's closer to you.
The budget will be available sometime tomorrow, so if you're watching this at home, it's already available on the town's website. We'll put it prominently on the front page of redhook.org. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you very much. All right, we are on item number 4. It is a resolution authorizing submission of an application for the fiscal 2017, I should say, Transportation Alternatives CMAQ program funding. As we've been discussing now for quite some time, we've been working with our town engineer, Brenda Cagle, has been spearheading with work from Sarah and others, an application to construct a pedestrian path on Route 199 west from the high school with a grass buffer from the roadway, as well as a paving of the shoulders to allow bikers on both sides. The pathway in the application, as it now stands, will go from high school to Meadow Drive, The paving of the shoulders will go all the way to Route 9G, which is a designated bike trail, and it will provide connectivity to not only the high school, but bring in residential developments to have better access to the village as a whole. And we have, I believe, the village of Red Hook. We have Trustee Kowalczyk with us here tonight. At their meeting last evening, endorsed with a resolution support for the application. And we continue to work on it, don't we, Sarah?
Yes, in fact, I'm pulling up right
To fine-tune,
now.
and we have our engineer working on some of the numbers, and we do have a resolution for the application. I'll hand you the latest spreadsheet, and
So I don't have to look at it on my phone?
so you can take a look at it. I highly recommend good glasses when you're looking at it, small numbers.
Or magnifying glass.
Does this
Yeah,
make the
or-
bond smaller if we print it like
It
this?
does not make the amount of money smaller if the print is smaller. But suffice it to say, this is an opportunity, like with all of the grant applications. You've heard me speak about the 2 Greenway grants that we received earlier tonight. This is an opportunity to get 80% funding from the feds. We can also do some matching in kind, depending upon the individuals that agree to help with the project. And so we have, at the moment, we have a cost estimate from our engineer that is somewhere around $1,407,000 to $1,009,000. And the way they do it is they give you the cost estimate and then they increase it by 50%. And so the actual application will still be fine-tuned and will likely have a number somewhere in between those two things, those two levels. And bearing in mind that our cost, which we've budgeted for in our 2017 budget to bond for this work and also work related to the rec park expansion, our cost will be 20% of whatever number the project ultimately ends up being.
What's 20% of 1.9?
So that could be as much as $380,000.
That's roughly a fifth of the project cost?
That would be the maximum. So I think what we would want to do this evening is consider passing the resolution with an up to amount, and then when the grant is finalized by our engineer, and I think we'll probably go right up until that deadline Friday to get it as fine-tuned as possible, we'll know better what that number is. I'm hoping in discussions with her that it's much closer to the base figure of 1.4 million, but I would hate for us to have a resolution that was inadequate. So again, that's
It's taking my breath away.
I'm taking your breath away?
That number.
It's taking your breath away? Well, don't,
20% of either of those numbers is
Well-
taking my breath away.
well, don't forget it's being financed over a long period of time.
Yeah, it's still.
And it will provide, I want to remind everyone, it will hopefully make it much safer for our walkers and bikers that are already using it, albeit not as much as perhaps they would like. We've already had tragedies on some of our state roads because we've had inadequate safety measures, and so I think we need to look at it both as a quality of life but also as a safety initiative as well. So
When was the deadline for this application?
the deadline
Was it
is
last week?
the deadline is Friday.
3 days.
Yeah, Friday, and Brandy's working furiously. Brenda's at home actually working now, otherwise she'd be here to answer any questions you have. So there's where we stand with that.
We don't have a rendering of the actual design.
Well, Brandy's working on that, but just
Both sides of the road?
yeah, so what we have, Harry, is again, We have a 4-foot shoulder on each side. We have a 2-foot, there'll be a raised curb, or the mountable curb. There'll be 2 feet of.
On the north side.
On the
only,
north
right?
side, yes,
Only.
thank you. The north side is the only side where there'll be a pedestrian pathway. And there'll be a 2-foot grassy strip, and then there'll be 6 feet of a pathway for pedestrians to go from Meadow. And as you know, once they get into Meadow Drive, they're connected to the 3 various developments, Linden Acres, they can make it to College Park.
We'll be walking in the street of the Meadow and through Linden Acres.
Right, which is more of a residential, safer type of an environment than being on the highway of 199.
Just proposed from the village to Meadow?
This is, so the pedestrian pathway, Jim, right now is proposed from the high school to Meadow. The paving of the shoulders for the bicyclists who are already using 199 is proposed all the way from Benner to 9G. Both sides.
And that will be
Both
how
sides.
wide?
Both sides, and that will be 4 feet wide under this initial proposal. Now, if we can get.
It'll
if
be
we can get
asphalt
enough-
paving.
It'll be asphalt paving
in the shoulder.
in
Is
the
that,
shoulder.
Mr. Supervisor, is that supposed to be part of this description, so that should we make that clear that the shoulder pavement is actually a longer segment, they're intended to be a longer segment than the pedestrian segment? Is that something you want to include? We just have said shoulder improvements safely, maybe if you said shoulder improvements along Route
Okay.
199, let's see,
From
pedestrian pathway along Route 99 and put that there. And then together with shoulder improvements along 199 to 9G. That's what your plan is?
Pedestrian pathway
So located
from,
along.
well, how
yeah.
about
You just
from
take
Red Hook
shoulder
High School
improvements
to Meadow with shoulder improvements on both sides of 199.
You're saying from Benner to 9G?
From Benner to Benner Road to Route 9G.
Then if you're going to say both sides there, then maybe we should indicate that the first part is only for the north side.
Pedestrian pathway on the north side,
Of Route 199, right?
Route 199 from Red Hook High School
Right, to Meadow
to
Drive.
Meadow Drive.
Does that make sense?
Shouldn't we
Well, we
indicate
haven't
that
seen
there's
it.
something, that there's about 500 feet of this is actually in the village?
You've seen the sketch.
Yeah,
We
she's
did
working-
do that
she's
in the
working on it.
village's resolution.
But I mean, you know what it
support for
is.
their
4 feet shoulder,
decision-making.
2 feet grass, mountable curb,
Um,
6 feet back.
Do you have that preliminary sketch from Robert George? It wasn't perfect, but it was a little bit closer to what we...
Was Robert George going to do?
Oh, he just made a sketch a while ago as part of larger Red Hook Trail plans, and it had something like this. Just to give you an idea of what it would look like.
Yeah.
He's the one who's designed it?
No.
No.
mm-mm.
Our engineer
He's
is-
not
this
really
is,
involved with this
That
project.
text is in the village's
He did it
resolution.
But
What they
he-
adopted, that will be part of the
He did it a
application
while
of
ago, but it
how we want
happens
add
to line up
this
with
resolution.
Well, I don't know, what's the legal
Proposing.
Well, we
message?
have a resolution of support from the village.
Yes.
With that text in it, that we have 500 feet in the village, and the village is supported, right? That was
I think it's
adopted last
400,
night.
but yeah.
We have
But the
approximately.
village isn't paying any money for this, right?
No, we didn't get the money for it. So we will have the renderings now that we've narrowed down the scope. We've taken it, I think you heard some initial numbers for this project, and it's been reduced greatly to around 1/3 the cost initially. And again, we can provide some in-kind on this CMAQ application, depending upon we get folks like perhaps, so we have somebody on
For
our
the
CAC who's an
308,000?
engineer.
What would the, what would What would
Time.
qualify as in kind?
Professionals.
Department using, doing something, or?
No.
Like a project manager,
yeah.
you know, if Ann Conway acts as a project manager as she is for our current TAP project, then we can use that. You know, it's just her salary if it's one of the projects that she works on while she's here. That's one example.
Somebody who does construction inspection, that kind of thing.
I mean, if we
So
knock
he's a
down
professional.
the project cost, so we're doing a third of what you wanted, does that water it down so much that it's not even gonna be worth it?
Well, here's what the case is that, so early on when we were first envisioning the project, Brandy, our town engineer, had the idea that part of the TAP program is to come up with innovative ideas. So her innovative idea was, let's ask DOT to shift the whole roadway to the south. And doing that with what we've proposed would have cost like $5 million, and that was probably like the low end, you know. And we brought that as our pre-application, and they said, no thanks. So we revised it, and this is the closest we can get to what we wanted within the right-of-way, so that we don't, you know, as soon as you start to get into trying to purchase right-of-way, the cost.
But is it really gonna be safe for bikers on the north side of that road, according to these dimensions?
So DOT, that we can't call it, we'd like to be able to have a shared use path, but the DOT requires that it be 10 feet wide. If we did that paved path that's separated from the roadway, and we don't have enough right-of-way for that, we just don't. Not with the drop-off that's on the north side. So we're gonna have to call it a pedestrian walkway. Now, I can tell you when I bike it with my kids, I'm probably gonna use the pedestrian walkway, you know, and we'll get off if there's pedestrians, and that, you know, we're not gonna be able to stop people from doing that, and we'll talk to people about safety, but, you know, the theory is that two-way bike traffic ought to go the way bikes are supposed to go, which is that they go with the flow of traffic. And that's part of the idea of improving the shoulders on both sides to make it safer for bikes and vehicles to share the roadway. And that pathway is going to be for, you know, we're gonna talk about it as though it's for pedestrians, and it really is for pedestrians because it's only gonna be, I believe, 6 to 8 feet at the most wide. So it's just not, you know, it doesn't fit with the basically universal recommendation for how much width you really need if you're gonna do safe two-way bike and pedestrian traffic on that area.
Yeah, we already have people biking on 199, and right now we have a very dangerous situation where there's very little shoulder, so there's uneven ground for them. The same is true if you walk on the north side, you know, along Hardeman Farm there, you'll see there's actually a little bit of a stone dust-like pathway, and there's absolutely no separation between the vehicles and that as well. So what this is doing, we hope, is making a very unsafe situation much safer for both the bicyclists and for the walkers. And let's not forget, it's helping to connect some of our communities that are.
Yeah, but are there walkers that connect from that part of the village of Red Hook, the high school,
Absolutely.
east?
Yeah.
Where do they go? To their homes along the?
Kids walk.
The kids
Yeah, I
walk,
see
a lot
that.
of the kids walk.
Kids walk, BART students walk, and I do know quite a few of my neighbors. I happen to live in that development back there, and there are quite a few who walk into the village. I run it myself, although I prefer not to because there is no shoulder. And so you either have to run literally in the roadway or in the dust. And that it's not safe because it's extremely uneven and it hasn't been repaired. You know, the shoulders haven't been paved. It's clear that the pavement ought to extend much further than it is right now, and DOT has told us they don't have any plans to address that area of 199 possibly for the next 5 years. So this is really our shot to try to make an improvement there that I think is going to be really significant for the people who do want to use it. And I also think there are a lot of people who would like to use it who don't because it doesn't feel safe. You know, like I said, we bike with our kids. We used to bike into the village actually for things like hardscrabble, and we just got too nervous because the people go, oh, that's the other thing we will propose within this project to decrease the speed limit. Maybe we should just mention that, like at least up to Meadow Drive, to be consistent with that. You know, it goes from the village 30 to 40 and then to 55 before you get to Meadow Drive, which I think we all agree doesn't feel safe for many reasons, including that there's so many people who are slowing down to turn there. So that would be another part of this project that's really critical, because you don't really want people walking and biking in an area where people are going 55 miles an hour and they only have about 6 feet between them and those cars, so. I do think there are people who will use it who aren't using it right now because it doesn't feel safe.
And this project was in the Dutchess County plan, the Walk Bike Dutchess plan. They had actually already had this project.
It's in our townwide trail plan too. It's not like officially sketched out in that plan, but it is talked about as another priority project.
So they proposed in the trail-wide plan to hug the main highway with the automobiles rather than going off into the fields, north of the highway and through some of the,
I don't think we've
Yeah,
ever
well,
dreamed
but-
of going into the fields, just because that, trying to
far as
do
the
like
trail
a
goes.
private property taking like that is
We-
such a
we-
huge
We
undertaking.
couldn't do it.
I mean,
There's an easement on that property that would prohibit us from putting a public trail there.
That was looked at one point.
and it is a
City council
wetland
went
also. I
along.
think there's parts of it that are really quite wet. I mean, that would be nice. That would be ideal to have a lovely trail winding through that area if we could, but I'm.
We're spending an
one-
awful lot we're spending 200,000 of 190 of town money on the sidewalk here in front of us, and this is another 300 to 400,000. That gets into the super wow category.
Do you think the sidewalk on Route 9 is worth doing, Harry? I mean, it's just a philosophical question since we're already
You mean
committed
this
to
one
it.
right here?
Yeah, the one we're about to break ground on in the spring.
Well,
And do you think the town could do it for less than 190,000 on its own? If we
Here?
didn't have TAP, yeah.
This is a unique
well,
opportunity to.
we might, and I don't know if we could do it for less than that.
I mean, maybe if you volunteered to pour the concrete, but I mean,
This is an opportunity.
Let's have that conversation.
I mean, these are opportunities for us to leverage, somebody else's money.
You must.
Obviously,
you
these
must come to
programs
terms
add a ton of
that
costs.
they're very expensive
They are,
opportunities.
absolutely,
And-
they are.
And the expense is certainly a major consideration in a small town like ours.
so anyway.
Okay.
as far
I
as
mean,
the
that's really
trail-
the question, is if you think that the improvement is enough for us to take on that 20% match, does it feel like that it's worth it to us to do that? Knowing that if we wanted to do it on our own, it would definitely cost us more than what the match is going to be. It wouldn't cost us the full amount of whatever it's going to be, because we wouldn't have all the federal red tape that we're going to have with this project, but it would still be a lot more expensive than whatever our match is going to be. Is it worth it to us? And that's really the question.
Yeah.
Maybe it,
In the context of what we really need for safety of walkers and bicyclists, when you take into account 9G, the number of people who walk up 9G, and we are already spending hundreds of thousands. We could spend up to nine figures several times over and we're a country town. Where does this whole balance play out?
Well, Harry, I would just like to say that we spend in this country billions of dollars maintaining roads. And pedestrian transportation has been historically underfunded. Now, we have a federal program here which we have taken advantage of for our residents to provide safe ways for them to walk, exercise, to cut down on their footprint. This is an opportunity for us to, at a very modest cost, since we're going to finance it anyway, and it's already budgeted for anyway, to provide a safe way for those kids to get to and from the high school, which they're already doing. And I think if we have an incident where something happens there, and we have had, right? I believe that Mrs. Hardiman died on that stretch of
She
the
did.
road, right?
Yeah.
I mean, why should we not invest a little money in making it safe for our residents to get from their neighborhood to the schools? That's what the safe routes to school program is all about. And that's a segment of this transportation alternatives program. So somebody's going to get this money, and somebody's going to use it for the same applications that we want to use it for, to provide safety and accessibility for their residents. And I can tell you, it's one of the #1 issues that people talk about, is how they cannot use our roads in any other form except driving and feel a certain degree of safety. And we can provide that for these residential subdivisions and anyone else who wants to take advantage of walking or biking on 199 West. So I think it's very important from the safety aspect.
Well, regardless of that, I think in a lot of ways our roads are better than most. However, if this program is here, you know, it's not a sure thing we'll get the grant.
It's not.
It makes sense to put the application in. Should we be approved, then we'll look very seriously as to how we can work out our share of the cost with in-kind services and things like that. Which, you know, hopefully we can come up with, do that so it actually isn't that much, you know, or possibly other grants that we could use to supplement that. It's not that much out of our local pocket.
We always do.
Our
We
local
always
pocket.
do.
It's all our pocket, but this is our local
Right.
pocket.
Right.
So, at this juncture, I think it makes sense to try and get the application in just to see if we could be on the list and move forward with it in that regard.
Okay.
What happens if we receive the grant and turn it down?
Well, Harry, we're not going to receive the grant and turn it down. If you don't want to support the grant, then don't support the grant.
But you can always turn a grant down, I suppose, if we really had to, right? I mean, just to answer Harry's
Yes,
question.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You
We
can
could.
turn it down.
I mean, the public doesn't know anything about this as of this moment.
Harry, we've been talking about it for several meetings.
Don't you think it's interesting
No,
how the
no.
CDBG requires the public hearing, but this one doesn't? I mean, it's a lot less money when you think about it.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But that's not,
Yeah, there
You
has
know.
not been a public hearing. It
There has not been.
there's- I haven't even heard any whispering about it.
Well, there will have to be a public hearing if we finance our share. So I guess that will answer your question on both counts, that yes, if they don't support it, then we won't finance it. I can tell you, and you know, because you've been at some of these meetings, which all related to road safety, and this room was packed. You were here for one of those, not for all of
I'm well aware
them.
of the safety
Wow.
problem, and this represents, you know, it's a safety issue, but it isn't the safety issue. It's a small portion of the safety issue that we have, and with the roads and walking, pedestrian traffic is on country roads is no fun.
I understand that, Harry, but this is the gateway to our village, and it's in the county plan. DOT has encouraged us to submit an application. This is not off on Starbarrack Road or some other, or Clay Hill Road, right? This straddles the village and the town. So if this is not an appropriate place to
Well,
make pedestrians safe.
and leads directly to two schools. I mean, once you
Right.
start to work on the application, you do kind of convince yourself as you're trying to ask for letters of support and things. I mean, there's a really significant link that we're creating by, you know, doing this project if we are lucky enough to get the money. It is expensive, and that's part of why we probably, I'm sure that's part of why it hasn't been tried before. But I think it should be one of our higher priorities to try to get those major developments that lead to other developments and other developments. And this is one of those ones that also leads almost, you know, it gets us, you so close to Bard College, you know. So it really is linking so many aspects of the town in toward the village. I just think we'd be crazy not to at least try to get the money myself, but.
Well, shall we, is there any more comments, or shall we entertain a resolution? more comments? Resolution number 94. Okay, dated October 18th, 2016. I'll give it a go. Since we've modified it a little bit. A resolution authorizing submission of an application for fiscal year 2017 Transportation Alternatives CMAQ program funding. Whereas the town of Red Hook as project sponsor has caused to be prepared an application for assistance under the Transportation Alternatives CMAQ program for a pedestrian pathway on the north side of Route 199 from Red Hook High School to Meadow Drive, together with shoulder improvements to safely accommodate biking located along Route 199 on both sides of the road from Benner to Route 9G, with an estimated project cost of up to $1.9 million. And whereas the program includes a local match requirement of 20% of the total project cost, and whereas the development of pedestrian and bicycle connections is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan and the Poughkeepsie Dutchess County Transportation Council's PDCTC Walk Bike Dutchess program, the Greenway Compact program, and the Red Hook Trails Committee's recommendations for the Village to Village Trail presented in their February 2016 Red Hook Trail Plan. And whereas the proposed project will support connectivity between the village of Red Hook High School, and Linden Avenue Middle School, and 3 residential subdivisions in the town, as well as Bard College and the village of Tivoli. Whereas it is in the best interest of the town of Red Hook to submit the application for fiscal year 2017 Transportation Alternatives CMAQ program funding for the town, the grant application to fund the proposed project. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Red Hook as follows. The town board authorizes the supervisor, or in his absence, the deputy supervisor, to execute and submit the grant application as project sponsor in a maximum estimated project cost of $1.9 million for the construction of a pedestrian pathway, together with shoulder improvements to safely accommodate biking located along Route 99
Mr. Supervisor, you want to make
west.
the changes here, that the same changes that you made in the prior paragraph?
Well, I was just going to say along Route 199 west, but if you prefer, we can repeat those changes.
Well, or just truncate it by saying construction of a pedestrian pathway together with shoulder improvements along Route 99 as described herein.
Okay.
Would you like to do that?
As described,
Congestion,
Described above.
mitigation,
as described above.
Sure.
and air.
The officers, employees, and agents of the town are hereby authorized and directed for and in the name and on behalf of the town to do all acts and things as may be necessary or in the opinion of the officer, employee, or agent, acting desirable and proper to effect the purposes of the foregoing resolution. This resolution shall take effect immediately. I so move. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I only have one question, Robert.
Sure.
On our fee schedule, the fine print sheet of paper you give.
Yeah.
The alternate 2, it says improved north shoulder as well. I presume alternate 2 is improved both north and south shoulder? And that's why that's a little more double than the alternate 1
Yes.
as part of the total package. I
Yeah.
presume that's a misprint on this
Yeah.
estimate?
So what is the correction, Jim? Alternate 2 means,
I think that means both the north and the south shoulder, all the
sides.
way to 9G, correct? Yes.
That's why it's twice.
That's why it's
twice
Yeah,
the amount.
yeah.
It's repeated alternate 1 and 2, the language there. It should be south shoulder.
instead of north shoulder?
Yeah, because alternate 1 is north shoulder.
Well, alternate 2 is both.
Alternate 2 is both, right?
Yeah, it looks like 6,500 feet rather than 27, stuff like that.
Okay, very good. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, but with the caution that should the engineer's report finally be presented to us, it's no fault of anyone's under the time limits that you're working, but should that report with its design sketch, which would give a common sense understanding of what this project would really be, and its cost, if that is not as agreeable as it appears on this little piece of paper that's handed out, then I think we should consider rejecting any kind of a grant.
Okay.
I mean, at least it should be considered, but otherwise I would vote yes.
It's a unanimous vote. And thank you all very much.
Maybe when we get a sketch, maybe we should circulate it to the town board just as a good faith before Friday, you know?
Of course.
Yeah.
All right, item number 5 is a resolution commemorating the Rotary Citizen of the Year. It's our own volunteer chair of the Conservation Advisory Council, Lori Husted, who for years has done terrific work, both as a committee volunteer, but also in our community, to help us learn more about sustainability and clean energy alternatives. And we're just very proud and happy for her that she has been deemed the Citizen of the Year. So we have a resolution which unfortunately I can't read because Bill stole, but here's a copy. It's a resolution honoring Lori Husted as the Red Hook Rotary Citizen of the Year for 2016. All right, whereas Lori Husted has dedicated herself to environmental sustainability efforts in Red Hook and at Bard College. She is the sustainability manager, I believe, at Bard College. Whereas her leadership in educating residents in the local government on green energy technology and opportunities has culminated in Red Hook becoming a leader in clean energy. And whereas she has led the town's Conservation Advisory Council and led successful campaigns including this year's Solarize Northern Duchess and the 10% Challenge, you remember that was in 2010. And whereas Lori has secured funding for many inspirational projects, from permeable parking lots over at Bard College to micro hydro. And whereas Lori has been a role model in the way she conducts her life and works with great collaboration and modesty. And now therefore be it resolved that the town board acknowledge and commend Lori for her selfless work and congratulate her on receiving this well-deserved honor as the Red Hook Rotary's Citizen of the Year 2016. And this resolution to be passed to commemorate that achievement. And it's dated October 18th, 2016. And there will be an event, if you don't already have tickets and would like to join, next week over at the Firehouse, as they do each year, the Red Hook Rotary, to say thank you to the many dedicated folks who have contributed so much to make this community what it is today. So I thank you all for signing the resolution or proclamation. I guess we made it a resolution, huh? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I would so move, since it is in fact a resolution. Would somebody like to second?
Second.
Okay, Sarah wanted to get that in there. All in favor? Any more comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much. Okay, item number 6 is a carryover. Bill, you weren't here. We had a request from the Red Hook Central School District. As you know, we are going to completely overhaul our tennis courts, which are in disrepair. We entered into a renewal of a 5-year agreement with the school district, and we made an agreement and a certain amount of money for rent each year, and the school district, upon looking at our tennis courts, said it was unable to use them for competitive play. Bard College was kind enough to accommodate them and rearrange their schedules so that the tennis team could play over there this year until we do the construction. They have a cost of $3,000 to play at Bard, and they were hoping we would credit them for that. You see in the photos, and if you've seen it in real life, as the little kids like to say, you can see just what kind of a state they're in and why we're completely redoing those tennis courts. So we have a request, and Bill, I don't know if you had a chance to.
Yeah, no, I looked it
go
up. It's 1,500 this year and 1,500 next year.
That's right, and the budget in 2017 reflects that.
15,000.
1,500 reduction, so they're asking for a 3,000 reduction, 1,500 this year, because they play fall and spring. And when we apportioned their use of the facilities, we attributed approximately $3,000 to the use of the tennis courts. And I can tell you just firsthand how many folks have come to us and said, that they feel our tennis courts are not playable, and that's just recreational players. So we need to get back to the school district. So is there any more discussion that we would like to have on this issue? Okay, would somebody like to move that we approve the request or not?
I'll move that.
Okay, I'll second your motion, Sarah. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, Sarah?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Harry, okay. I say, here's some reluctant ayes down there, but thank you very much. I know it's been a lot of work.
Bill, when you weren't here, we were at a draw.
Oh, but your hearts have softened over time. It's so good to
Because we're gonna
see.
spend probably $100,000 to redo the courts.
The ghost of tennis players past visited you after the last town board meeting. And
Okay, so just for discussion, item number 7, we've talked about lumping some of our updates on laws together so we can be efficient with our expensive general code fees that we get hit with every time we update a law. But we do have, I think Teresa's brought to our attention that we need to add, or actually swap out, a yield sign at Rokeby Road East of Route 103, County Route 103. And so I have, just for your perusal, a draft of the local law that was prepared by our attorney. It's not something we are going to take action on this evening.
And if I could just, for your discussion, the changes are really, because we just inserted the chart again, if you look at the second page of the chart of stop intersections, you'll see the Rokeby Road ones about a little more than halfway down that second page. And those have all been modified a little bit just to clarify which direction they're going, but the only one that's been added is Rokeby east of 103 at the Rokeby Triangle. That southeast facing intersection at this point is around the triangle is a yield sign at this point, and Teresa can speak to her recommendation about changing it. So then the only question is
Southeast facing?
So southeast, there's a if you're coming south
There's
on
one yield sign there.
If you're south on 103, you cut off to go over to Rokeby Road. There's a yield sign there on that side of the triangle.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
that yield sign is the one that she's proposing to become a stop sign, a full stop, before you can get onto Rokeby Road.
There's inadequate sight distance, and you have to cross traffic when you're going to the left. There's a huge tree there. We've had several requests from residents about it, and because of the increase of traffic on Rokeby Road over the past few years, we feel that putting a stop sign there instead of a yield sign would be appropriate. The county has weighed in and they approved that change too. Typically it would be a county sign, but it's not. It's a town sign. So we have the right to decide and replace if we feel that's appropriate. And we do, the highway department does. We've looked at it, and we think that putting a stop sign there would be a measure of safety.
Twice.
Now, coming,
I had to stand on my brake there when somebody just went through the yield sign. I don't think that, they're not whether I should blame it on the students or not, but they don't seem to know what a yield sign means.
Well, it's hard to yield when you can't see the oncoming traffic.
Well, they don't even look, they just drive
Yeah.
right through it. Well, twice I've had that happen.
now when you're heading northeast,
Somebody faces
on
that.
the opposite side of that triangle, there you have a decent sight distance, correct? When you're heading north.
Well, you're on the right-hand lane, so
Right, so it doesn't-
you don't have to do
it's not an
anything.
issue.
You're on the through road.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, it seems to make perfect sense to me as well. So this is something when we have another update coming up very soon, we'll want to combine it with other measures. Any other specifics? This is pretty straightforward, adding a stop sign.
We need a resolution for this?
Well, if you're gonna hold off on it, we would just hold it until the
Yeah.
next time you have something that's
With an update.
appropriate for it to be combined. You can't just shove it together with anything.
Right.
That's
We
vehicle
can't
and traffic
install,
law.
yeah, and we can't
And they
install
can't
the stop
they can't
sign
go ahead.
until we have it.
Right.
Why don't we just pass a resolution now and install the stop sign?
Well, we have to do
Why
a
would-
public hearing, and then it will become part of our local law. It's a code.
Get that out of
Yeah.
there.
So we have to have a public hearing. as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, remember
so-
that nice block parties law that we did to accommodate? Yeah, that price tag for that was significant with general code. So we want to really, as much as we can,
We
be
used to
efficient
just
with
change
that.
stop and yield all the time without any public hearings.
Yeah.
I see them everywhere.
Or a law.
Together with that. Okay, well, very good. That's all we have on the agenda for the main meeting. We have some correspondence. Is there any public comment? Okay, hearing none. With correspondence, we have a letter from Warren Temple Smith, who heads up the Hudson River Heritage, and he's thanking us for opening St. Margaret's during the Hudson River Heritage Country Seats Tour. And he said that visitors were fascinated to see what the inside looked like and also to learn about the history. And I thought it was nice of him also and curious of him to convey to us some of the ideas that people had for St. Margaret's, including, for its future use rather, including a tea room, bed and breakfast, professional offices. But he said many of the ideas like those would not be consistent with the building's maintenance and operation requirements, and also we have significant restrictions on the use of the building when it was conveyed to us by the parent company of Hannaford years ago. The Association of Towns, it's that time again, they're writing to us to talk about the annual meeting down in New York City. So you'll want to take a look at the topics and see if that's something that you would like to participate in. And let's see, do we have anything else for correspondence? Does anybody else have anything? I think that covers it for me this evening. Anybody else have anything that they would like to add? Okay, Bill, did you want to make a resolution, Bill, to,
Well, make a motion to go into executive session to consider a resolution concerning a attorney-client,
Matter of litigation.
yeah, legal,
Matter of litigation.
what's it called?
A matter of litigation.
So this is
Matter of
attorney-
litigation.
This is attorney-client?
It's an executive session.
Executive session.
okay. Well, very good.
Take about 10 minutes.
I'll second that.
And then we'll close the meeting.
Thank you very much, Bill.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And just for the record,
Yes, and for the record, I will not participate in this executive session, and I don't believe
and I will not even.
our town attorney will as well.
I'm recusing myself,
Yes.
different reasons.
Is this?